Hello, friends. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Today, we are talking all about being a mom boss with the one, the only coordinator of chaos, Julie. So I am so excited to give you the floor to share what your best practices are, where you're at now, and how we can connect with you even further. So can you share a little bit about your career journey with us?
Sure. So my name's Julie. I am 35 years old. I moved to New York City when I was about 22, and I lived there for 7 years. And then I moved back to Pittsburgh, where I live now. So when I was in New York, that's really where I set my career up, or what I thought, what was leading me in the right direction to my dreams and what I wanted. So I first worked at a publishing company. I was an assistant. I started from the bottom, worked my way up. And then I met Bethenny Frankel from Skinny Girl Cocktails and, from the Real Housewives of New York City. So I met her and we stayed in touch. And when she was ready to kind of catapult her business, she called me up and she said, "Hey, I want you to quit your 9 to 5 and come work for me." And I said, "Great," because I just had this feeling that she was just going to be who she is today. So I worked with her very closely for 3 years, doing assistant stuff, helping her build her brand, working with PR companies, working with the media. I did kind of everything. And I think that really is what helped set the basis for me of one day being able to run my own business, and also to realize that all of the different things that go into, being a working mom, but also kind of that hard work that you have to do every single day, shit that you don't want to do, balancing your checkbook, staying on a budget, doing the laundry. Those are all things that I learned and saw when I worked with Bethenny in New York. And it's just, I took my job very seriously. And even though I was doing a lot of assistant-based stuff, it was just that nothing was beneath me. And I wanted to make, everything that I did count towards something. And that's how I've always been. That's how I was in college and how I am now. So I moved back to Pittsburgh and married my husband. It was just time to leave New York. New York is if you've ever lived there, it's the best place in the world, but it's also a really difficult place to be. You don't make necessarily a lot of money, and it's just different. And I wanted to be closer to family. And my husband, he had a job that he loves. He's a college lacrosse coach, and there's only 60 of those positions in the entire country. So to have him leave and come to New York when it's, New York and expensive, it just didn't make sense. So I made that choice for myself, for my career, and for my future family. And I moved back to Pittsburgh. I took a little bit of a sabbatical, I like to call it. I did not do anything. I did a million things. And then I got very nervous. And this is just part of my story, but a few people said to me, it's so hard to get a job. So I started panicking. And I had never really thought about doing my own thing. But I didn't have the confidence yet. And I think that it wasn't about that I was like scared or didn't think I couldn't do it, because I think that's when you're an entrepreneur and you take that jump, you feel that way. This was more, I was just a little too young, and I had that experience at a few companies, but they were very non-corporate. So I felt like I needed that corporate feel. So I went to work at an advertising agency, which actually advertising was my major in college, which is funny because not a lot of people end up doing what their major is. So I went into the agency world and worked in a corporate environment, where I worked on larger clients. I worked in communication, PR. I saw a lot of campaigns and advertising branding being built. And I started to connect the dots of everything that I had been through in my New York life at the publishing company that I was at, And then also at Bethenny, I saw all these dots start to connect and think, oh, this is why Bethenny did things this way with her brand, or this is how, or giving my clients or my colleagues advice of how or why, you would do something in the branding world. So to make a long story shorter, I got pregnant, had my daughter, took maternity leave, and then went back to work. And I started really connecting with some like-minded women, small business owners, and they were calling me and asking me for advice. And my husband was like, I love that you're helping all these people, but why don't you start charging for it? And how can you make this a business so that, I know you want to be at home with our daughter. So I said, okay. And I started thinking about it. And then I decided about 6 months back that I was going to reconnect with some of these people and take them on as clients. And I left my corporate job, and it was amazing. It was scary as hell. But I knew that I could make it work. And I knew that the experiences that I had would make me unable to fail. And I've had failures, but fail in general is what I meant. So I think that that's where I'm at now. It's been about 3 years. I met Nellie on her journey with her nonprofit and helped her with some branding stuff right when I started. So she was actually technically one of my first clients, which was awesome. Yay! And I know, and I'm just so proud to see where she has come. And when she asked me to come on here and talk to, like-minded women about my journey and my, I guess, advice and opinions, I said, of course. So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I have my own business for 3 years. My daughter's 3.5 now, and I am expecting another baby. So this pregnancy now is all through my entrepreneurship journey. But I'm expecting another child in September. So, things are challenging, but I'm figuring it out. I get to have my own schedule, and that's the best.
I think obviously being an entrepreneur, you have unlimited income potential, but I think the time freedom and the choices that you can make far outweigh the money. Do you agree?
100%. I say that to my husband. Like, as I mentioned, he's a coach, and this means that this entire season I got to travel with him and be at every single one of his games with my daughter. And had I been at a corporate job or had, I just could never do that. When you get frustrated and upset, and there's always those days, and my sister started her own business out in Los Angeles, and sometimes she'll call me, and I think that it's important, Nellie, what you're doing is to try to support other women that are trying to do this, because you have bad days where you're like, screw this. Why am I not in an office getting like a normal paycheck? Like, this is such bullshit. Why am I doing this? And you have to almost talk to someone on that day who's like having a good day. Cause I have those good days where I'm like, this is so awesome. Like I booked 3 clients today. This is so great. And then you have the normal days, which is just day in and day out. But I think getting through those tough days, you have to make sure that you have those people that are in the same position as you that get it, that can be like, listen, that this is just like a few days that you feel like this, overall it's the best. And so I think that my husband and I always talk about that, because that is why, so that we get to be together as a family all the time. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to help other women and to help brands, and because I love that stuff and because I believe in those things. But I'm doing it because it just allows me to live my life in the way that I want to live it.
Yeah, and I feel like if people, because I feel like there's a false sense of security in the corporate world. Like, people feel like, well, since I get a paycheck every other Friday, I'm safe. And you're really never safe until you work for yourself, because then you wake up and you get to choose how much money you want to make today or how much you don't want to make today. And so I think if people can be in the right mindset to get started, then the sky is the limit. And so I remember the episode, this is before I knew you, but I remember the episode when you were on the couch crying to Bethenny and saying, like, I'm transitioning, I'm leaving. Like, talk to us about that moment, because that's a big deal to say, like, because a lot of people can get caught up in the cameras and the fame and like having all of that, but you chose your vision for your life outside of that. Like, talk to us about that moment.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy, but it's been like 8 years since, I think, right? I think it's been a long time since I think I left in 2012. So it's been a decent amount of time, but I knew that I always feel like, I always knew intuitive when something was ready to be over. That's why I knew that it was time to quit my job and start my own company. I knew when my other company, it was time to go work for Bethenny. Bethenny had actually called me a year before I went to work with her, and she said, come work for me. And I said, you know what? I had just gotten a raise. I was in like a really great position, and I was like, I just don't think it's time yet. So it's that going with your gut and knowing when the right time for you is. And I think that listen, it's been a long time since I've been on, quote, reality TV. It's a lot different now. There's a lot more opportunities in social media and for those people to make a supplemental income. It was kind of starting to be like that when I left. But I think that I was able to have my experience and have a great relationship with Bethenny is because I never made it about TV or any of that. It was about her business. It was about growing her as an individual and as a business owner and as Skinny Girl. And that I realized that my head was a little bit other places, and I wasn't like in a position to be able to like commit to that 100% because I wanted to start my own life. And I think that when you are in a position at a small company, and you see it now, you and I, when we're running our own company, imagine if you were to get an assistant who just basically lived at your house with you and was doing everything for you. That's as an assistant and in a small company, even at the company that I worked at before Bethenny, people lived for their jobs. That's all they did, And so I just couldn't do that anymore. I had to like live my own life, and it wouldn't have been fair. I could have I had the other choice, which was, choose to stay in New York and just not and who knows where I would be right now. But I knew myself that I needed to do that other way. And it was the right decision for me. And I have a great relationship with Bethenny still. So it's just, it all worked out. And I think that that's because I did it in my own time when I was ready. I mean, my husband wanted me to leave a year and a half before I left, and I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And so when you're ready. And I think that's an important tip for entrepreneurs. And it doesn't mean you're prepared. It doesn't mean like,
yes.
Doesn't mean like at all. It means that you kind of have that feeling when you're ready, right? Or you're ready to start a new project or take on a new client or close up shop and say, this isn't working. I got to do something else. Yeah. You have that gut feeling, and you just really have to innately follow that. And I feel like I can do that.
Well, and through it all, like, on camera, and now that I know you even after, you have always been so authentic, and that isn't always easy in that industry. That
means a lot.
Yeah, in New York, like, I think that's why people fell in love with you and why you're continuing to be so successful, because you show up as you, and you're authentic, and you don't try to have yourself all put together. And I really want you to talk about that, of being an entrepreneur and how messy it can be. Like, I think people are concerned about trying to have it all figured out. What? Do you agree?
Emma. Is it messy? Is it messy? Yeah. I think that it is, I love a plan, right? Like I love having a plan. I love being organized, but when you start your own company, unless you have all these investors and unless you're starting like a small business, let's call it, not that we're not a small business, but and you have resources and money to pay employees and things like that, unless you have that, you have to realize that shit is not going to be the way that you want it to be, maybe for years or ever. I'd like to be more organized. I'd like to have someone who can assist me. I'd like all of these things, but I think that you really have to get into what you have to do every single part of your business, so then you can figure out, I'm not good at this, so I need to hire someone else to help me, or this is something I need to work on, so I'm going to have to devote this many hours a week to it. I think that a lot of times the things that people don't want to do, the accounting part of it, the invoicing, all of those different things that are part of a business if you want to make money. If you don't want to make money, you just have a hobby and that you don't need to make people pay you, and it's just great. But maybe your business starts like that, but then people start wanting you to do things and you start charging them. Then those things come up and you have to do those things, and figuring out how to do those things is messy and it's disorganized, and you're really trying to just also do those things but also make money. So I think that it's important, again, to talk to other entrepreneurs who have been there, done that, and just say, hey, what invoicing system do you use, or what's the verbiage that you use so that people actually pay you. Don't try to do every single thing yourself. You can do it all yourself, but just ask for help, join these kinds of masterminds, watch what others are doing. And that's, to me, very, very different than looking at other people's businesses and envying what they do, or wanting to be like them, or comparing yourself to them. I'm saying, minded and other people, to ask them those specific questions that could help. Because who knows, you might see some business, you might ask them, hey, how do you invoice? What's your accounting? And they might say to you, you know what? I don't even do that. Let's figure it out together. Because you would be shocked at how, because of social media, because of digital, how people are appearing is not really how it's going on in the background. And as a business person, that's kind of, in a way, a great marketing ploy, a great way to be. But you just have to be weary of, really, no one has their shit together. I mean, unless you have a lot of money and you have other people running your company for you. And if you are a type A person, or a person who started your own business, you're never going to let go to let that even really happen. So it's always going to be all encompassing. So the way to balance and feel that feeling and be 100% all in your business is that you must take breaks that have nothing to do with your job. And that has been a very big challenge for me the past 3 years. It's something I'm thinking about when I have my next baby, is how am I going to shut it off? And it's almost like I can do it because I've done it, but it takes a few hours to really do it, and then you're good. And I think that you really have to pick and choose those shutdown times. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you scientifically it should be at night, you should put your phone away an hour before bed, because not everyone's the same. I don't like to get up in the morning and work. I'd rather work till 1 a.m, but that's me. Some people want to get up at 5 and get everything done by noon and have the rest of the day to themselves. Find what works for you, but please have that shut off time. Because if you're a working mom and you're trying to just do everything, you won't do anything well. And that's something I think about every day. And that's when I have those bad days, I'm thinking really about, God, I'm not doing anything well. And that, to me, frustrates me because I like to do everything perfectly. So that just drives me insane. So if you're trying to do everything, you're just not doing everything well. I don't know. It's just something that I often think about. And I think that it's not like I've cracked that code, but you just really have to be, I guess it's being present in what you're actually doing. So if you're doing invoicing, like do invoicing, don't be on Facebook.
Yeah. So
or if you're like feeding your kid, feed your kid. But there's also times I was at the doctor's and I was in the waiting area and I was on the phone with a client and I walked back, they're like, is everything all right? I was like, yeah, I was just on the client. Everything's fine. But I was literally using their front area because no one else is there to like be my office. So that's more of time management and making every moment count. I'm talking about when you cannot focus on one different thing. You have to. That was a long-winded answer.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to shut off? Do you have a favorite way?
I mean, I love traveling. Traveling's like the best for me to do that. Also just like watching like nonsensical TV, like reality TV, watching it. I can finally watch it again. I'm like out of the, but I think doing that, or my phone has to be gone. It cannot even be near me. It has to be not around.
Yeah.
Then I can shut up.
What's your favorite reality TV show? Be honest.
Yeah. Vanderpump, Southern Charm. We started The Bachelorette last night. My husband and I get super excited for Bachelor in Paradise. It's just such nonsense. I love it. I love the nonsense. And I think that I probably watch it in a very different light than other people, which just makes it great for me. But it's just all so brilliant the way that it has. Basically, Andy Cohen's just brilliant. It's just just what it's all come to, and how everyone now is hopefully making money.
Yeah.
So
I would love to know, give us a sample of I know there's no such thing as a normal day, but give us a sample of your normal day when you lived in New York, and then your normal day now as a working business with your own company. Yeah, do both. I would love to know.
Oh God, you're making me try to remember like my old life. No, for New York, I was very fortunate. My last year in New York, I lived in the West Village, which was pretty close to where my office was at Bethenny's apartment. So I would wake up in the morning, grab an iced coffee, walk, which I like. That's the one thing I miss so much about New York is the walking. Walk right to work, get in there. And, depending on if it was like a normal day where, there was a few things that we had on the schedule, or, there was nothing early. It was really just day to day of schedule. What's the schedule today? What's the schedule tomorrow? Who's coming to the apartment today? Are they coming to film? Where do we need to go? And it was an interesting time because there was like no Ubers. So there was like a lot about car services and booking things. There was no, it was really different. And I'm not saying that anyone now assistants or someone would have an easier job, but it's a little bit easier to get people places on a structured time now that there's Uber. But it was always about what's happening in the next hour with her schedule and where do we need to be. And then the downtime was spent doing the business of the business stuff, following up on calls and meetings, and and then grab lunch if I had time. There was a time period where I had to work out and run because I was running half marathons and I was doing Barry's boot camp, and so I always really tried to incorporate some kind of fitness thing into the day. Sometimes the days were too exhausting for that. So then I probably left around 6 or 6:30, and I feel like in New York you go meet someone usually just like to have dinner, or so I'd be like, to my sister, I'd be like, where are you? walk home, you grab a drink, you know, you have a nice dinner, and then you go home, and then you just do the exact same thing the next day, you know, because you don't have a car. You go grocery shopping, you have one bag because you can't carry everything. You're not doing like a haul of like spending $250 at the grocery store of like your entire week. Now, maybe some people do that now because I think people, as they get older, do those kinds of things, planning, bringing lunch and all that stuff. But I didn't have time for that. So now I think that it's definitely, I don't want to say crazier, but I feel like I have more responsibilities. I was responsible for Bethenny and her schedule, and I was responsible for myself. Now I feel like I'm responsible for a household, for my daughter, for my husband. You know, I should have put laundry in before I came down here, and I just didn't because I didn't feel like walking upstairs because I feel super pregnant today. So anyway, I think today, you know, it's our days are based around what is my daughter's schedule today. Is she going to school? Is my mom going to help watch her? Is my husband home for the morning so that I can get some work done? It's more about my daughter's schedule and my schedule and how is that going to work for us. But, you know, she's a great sleeper. So she sleeps till about 8. We get up as a family and come down. I usually get her water and oatmeal or something like that. And then she goes, you know, off to school, or else my mom comes over. And then I like to go to a coffee shop or just get out of the house to go get stuff done. And then I have to, you know, usually be back by 4 to get her from daycare. And then I have her, and then that's a little difficult sometimes because I think sometimes the people who are in the corporate world that are some of my clients, but from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock, some people still like need to be doing. So I'm trying to balance always during that time period from 4 to 6. You know, am I going to have a call? Am I not going to have a call, etc. So that's where it's like the real balancing act is just when I have her and I'm trying to still work. So, you know, then she goes to bed around 8. And then we watch reality TV and both sit on our computers and work for a few hours and then go to bed. That's pretty much my day. But it's not as it's not that different than what I was doing before. It's all about like time management and what you're going to do. But you have to really like, because stuff's always not going to work out. So you got to just go with the flow and be able to, you know, let go if something doesn't work out or if someone gets sick, or, you know, you can't be so strict, you know? I think that when you're going as a mom to an office, you're dropping your child at daycare, you get to the office at 8:30, you know you're leaving at 5, you make the most of every single moment you're at work so that then you can come home and be present with your son or daughter or your husband or whatever. And I think that when you are just all over the place all day, it's just not like that. You know, I think I procrastinate way more now than I ever did.
Yeah. And do you shut off on the weekends, or do you still dabble in some work on the weekends?
No, I rarely shut off. Like this weekend for Memorial Day, I kind of did, but I'm always thinking about it. I'm always trying to figure out what's coming next. Sometimes I don't even know, I'm like, or who's even my client right now? Why am I even talking to these people? They're not even paying me. So, hold on. But yeah, so that's exactly, I'm always, people are always texting me. I'm always talking about work. It's just part of my life.
But you love it, so it makes it, I think, a little bit easier, right?
100%. I do love it. I think that as all entrepreneurs and all moms who are working, or even moms who are going to an office every day, or people are trying to start a side hustle or whatever, I think I have to get better at eliminating things and not saying yes to everything. And I think though, as you grow up and get older, that becomes a little bit easier because priorities change. Other people aren't as demanding because their priorities have changed. But I think you have to really focus on doing the things that ultimately will make you happy, or whatever you want to do per se.
And what do you feel like, I mean, everyone's chasing success and chasing, you know, to make more money, and what do you feel like success is to you? Like, how would you define that?
Oh, you're really making me think here. I don't know. I think in my life right now, maybe that's something I'm trying to figure out for me is I think that I'm 3 years into my own thing. Let's call it, quote unquote. I do a million different things, from doing project work to consulting work to coaching to healthy eating programs. I mean, all that. So it's a great question because I think that it's something that I think about all the time. What is success? To me, success would be figuring out how to not feel like a chicken with my head cut off, right? And to feel like I am giving the right effort to each of the things that are important to me in my life. But I also don't think that that's very realistic. So success for me would be to calm some of the noise in my head that's worry, whether it's worrying about, is my business successful? How do people view me? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough for my kid? All that noise. I think that success for me would be able to silence some of that and control some of that. And I think as I get older, and you know, everyone has their moments, but I think that I'm doing a better job of that. I think that health and happiness with your family and having a strong marriage and having a strong relationship with your family, friends, and your children, that's success to me. That's what I love. So I think that my business will always be something that keeps going and that makes me excited and makes my brain work and allows me to be social and talk to different people and meet great people. But I think that success for me is being able to do both and not worry so much.
Wow. It's huge. I think there's so much noise when you work for yourself, and even when you don't work for yourself, just mommy noise and guilt, and it can just consume you. And how do you feel like you do calm that noise?
I mean, I think sometimes you just have to ignore it, to be quite honest, and just have those like I said, the entrepreneur and that noise, having other business people to talk to and say, you know what, help me calm that noise. To have other business people that are moms too, right? That are trying to do the same thing to help you talk things out. And we're not going to an office every day. And you've done that. I've done that. It's very different. Sometimes it's very lonely. And, you know, my husband's job, he's at a school, but he also has a flexible schedule in the fact that he's doing, you know, working 80-hour work weeks, but sometimes that means he's away for 4 days. So he has a flexible, similar schedule. But I think that creating that support system for yourself is very, very important. I think having then moms who are your friends, and I don't know, it could be moms that you meet later in life. It could be friends that you reconnected with because it could be anyone, but having those moms who think like you and who mom like you, I guess without even in a word, who mom like you, that is so important because not everyone does things similar ways. And I have 4 or 5 friends who we are very similar moms. And I think if sometimes you have to find those moms, because there's some moms that are just, you love and they're your friends, but like, that's not the way that like you do things. And you don't want to feel shamed by them, or not necessarily shamed by them, but like comparing yourself to them, because that's a very woman thing to do. It's a very human thing to do, is, in business or as a mom or as a wife, or, but again, it comes down to like, only you really know what goes on in your business, in your house, in your marriage, in your life. And so I think that you have to find those people in your life, and it might be your mom, it might be your sister, it might be someone that you just met because your daughter met them at school. Like, I have a great friend who is just, she's just like me, but I would have never met her had our daughters not like connected at school. You know what I mean? And I, at every step of my life, and I'm going to find this poem because I've been looking for it, actually. I like to read it, and I'm going to send it to you. I think you'd really like it. But it talks about, my mom gave it to me, like, I want to say like my sophomore year of college. And I had a really great group of girlfriends in college who I'm still very close with. But I think that different stages in your life as a woman, you think, you're like, I got this. Like, I don't have I'm not going to make any more friends. I've made my friends for life. Right. And then you go through these different stages and you find these people that, I don't know, would you have liked each other in high school? Probably. But you're in the same headspace as them, and you connect and you're able to support one another and at that moment in your life. So this poem talks about, you have some of those people from high school, you have some of these girls from college, you have some people from, that you meet later in life, you have your sister, and everyone has these different roles in your life and different reasons that they're there. And someone that you just met at a coffee shop, you don't even know. I have these one blogger friend that I met, she was a blogger in Pittsburgh, and we've just become great friends since I moved home. And I thought I was like done making friends. I don't know if that makes sense to you or that sits with you, but you have to be open, as a mom, as a woman, as a business owner. And I'm sure I will sit here and I'm like, I have a lot on my plate. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people in my life, but in the next 10 or 15 years, Josie's going to grow up slowly and we're going to meet new people. I see at my husband's lacrosse games, all the parents they're going to their son's games. They're all in college and they're like best friends with each other. It's like, when Josie's in college, who might I meet that would be a parent? And that, it's just, but that is an important thing as a business owner, as a mom, as a woman, is to keep yourself open to building new friendships and new relationships. I'm not saying run around and trust everybody with your heart and be best friends with everybody, but you will find people. And I think that is something that I've done in my 30s that I think is really important.
Do you feel like obviously it's made you a better person. Do you feel like it's made your business stronger as well?
Yeah. I think that forming relationships with clients, other moms that are business owners, partnerships that I've done projects with people on. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Oh. I think that it has strengthened my business. It's why my business survives, to be quite honest, because of the strong relationships that I have. And I think that it took me 32 years to figure out that I could build my business on those relationships, because that's how it started. It's not like I went out and like held a sign outside that said, hire me for hire. It all happened very organically. And I know that that's like something maybe that not people want to hear, but if you figure out what you're really good at and you know what you want to do, things will happen for you. I think that building relationships, and sometimes as important as letting relationships go that don't work, and that has made me a stronger business owner and a mother and a wife and a friend and a daughter and, you know, a sister, is being able to really figure out what works for you. So it comes down to just, again, going with your gut, feeling it out. And that can be said for business and for being a mom, because you know, because when you know something about your business, or you know that you should make this decision, or like, you know, your kid's sick and everyone's, they're fine, and then they throw up 20 minutes later, you're like, I told you so. So to just going with that feeling, that I think that, I don't know, I think it's something innate to women. So I think really being in tune with yourself. And I think, Nellie, that goes back to, and for me, that goes back to being healthy and being in tune with your body, and eating the right things, putting the right things in your body, and that's, you learn as you, every year, you hopefully that you make that a part of your life, and make yourself stronger. And because if you're all foggy and a mess, can't be clear in mommyhood and business. And that fog is different from when you're a new parent. I'm talking about taking care of yourself, and making yourself a priority is very important as well.
Yeah.
And we don't do that enough for ourselves.
No. And I think it's, you know, it's something that we chase, but if we can at least do a little bit more and more every single day of putting ourselves as a priority, that's better than nothing. And so
Yeah.
you have a new baby coming in September. What's your, you know, of course you'll take some time off, but what's your long-term vision with your business?
God. I don't know. I think I'm working on some new projects that I think that it goes back to my thing of like timing, where like, I just want to like, why didn't I do this sooner? I should have done this right when I got home from New York. But there's a few things I'm working on. I really am trying to take my own advice that I give people, which is brand myself, have my website. I am hopefully working on something lacrosse related. And then I also, like I said, I've started doing some health coaching. So, which is crazy pregnant, because it's just, you're pregnant and you just want to be eating all of the things. But I think that I have a lot of plans, but I think that I don't have, like I said, I don't have that one thing that like next year at this time. But I think that's something with me. You're right. I need to like write down goals and take my own advice, which is what I would tell someone else to do, is like, Julie, what's your goal or objective for the next year of your life? So I think that when I had Josie, I remember I was very, and I don't know if it will be like this, and I don't know if you felt like this, but I felt very, yeah, I was tired. I was a new mom, all this, but I felt this, I was very creative. I don't know. I wanted to be creative. I guess that creation, who knows, but felt like writing, like doing all of these things that sometimes I don't want to do right now, or like in life in general. And I remember wanting to do that when I had her. So I want to set myself up so that I can be that new mom, and then also take some time to be creative if that's how I'm feeling, instead of, you know, all of the other stuff that tends to go on with the business. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think goals are important, but I think it's also listening to your current clients and perhaps future clients and seeing what people want and doing more of that too. So I think I don't think there's any shame being open to what's possible too.
Well, exactly. And everything changes. I mean, everything, you know, what's going on right now, how are people working remotely with one another now is not how people might work remotely with each other next year, or everything's always changing. So I think that you have to be flexible and change with the times, and, you know what your business goals are, or as far as what you want to get out of it and what you want other people to view your company as, your brand as. You know, we talked a lot about that with your nonprofit when we were doing that rebrand. But I think that you also have to, give yourself a little bit of a break.
Yeah. So if people want to work with you, how can they get connected with you?
Yeah. So, well, you can email me, Julie@jpmbranding.com. You can get in touch with Nellie and she'll put you in touch with me, or else you can follow me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram, at Julie Plake McMinn. And yeah, I mean, I think that I'm obviously always accepting new clients, wanting to connect with people and coach people. But yeah. And like I said, some new stuff to come soon, which I'll let you know about when it does.
Jeez. So before we hop off, what is your number one tip that you would give any entrepreneur? What comes to mind first?
Oh, build your foundation. And by that, I mean, really do your due diligence when you start your company. And to me, that can mean anything from your branding, you making sure that you are set up as a business and not just trying to throw everything into your personal account. Figure out your accounting, because like you could take off very quickly, and like tax time, and a year later you're not going to remember stuff, and it will be a nightmare. I will tell you that. So build your foundation. And if that means, what your messaging for your brand is, what your, how you're going to invoice things, or just how things are going to work. It's almost like creating your mini little handbook. And I'm not saying it has to take up a lot of time. It could be one sheet of paper written down on a Microsoft Word document of, this is my plan. But you got to have a plan. You don't have to always follow it, but at least build that foundation correctly, because at some point it will just start haunting you if you don't do it.
Yeah, that's huge. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We're so grateful. Connect with Julie, work with Julie. I can vouch for her. She is amazing. She helped rebrand NC4K a few years ago, and it has truly paid off in so many different ways. So I'm grateful to know you, and I'm really excited to
see
your new baby and how you manage life with a mom being a mama too.
Yeah, right? I don't know. So I could come back next year and say, forget everything that I said. This is how it really is. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, thank you again so much. Connect with Julie, and until next time, we'll see you later.